Happy almost weekend. Today's reading does not come from my book. Notice the color. Favorite color? Favorite color. Have you checked out my new website? Favorite color. This week, I'm not going to be reading from this book. I will be reading from the new book to come, which is really about transitioning from a public schooled environment to homeschooling and encouragement in that transition so you feel confident, clear, and vision-filled in your homeschool story. So today I'm going to read to you something that I have shared about my story in kindergarten, the first day of kindergarten for my first child. 2 of my kids went to traditional kindergarten, and 2 of them did not go to any school. The third one went to public school this last year in grade 10, and my 4th is in grade 7, still at home. Kindergarten is a rite of passage, right? I put my first 6-year-old daughter on the bus at the end of the block. Then I went directly home to load my 2 other girls into the minivan, about aged 4 and 2. And then I followed that yellow bus to school. Yes, I did. My oldest daughter bumped along the gravel road on that green vinyl seat with a new friend. She checked out the first graders behind her and the second graders behind them, and behind them, third graders, until the bus was bookended with high schoolers. She was happy to meet new friends. My 6-year-old daughter watched out that wide window past the railroad tracks, past the silos, past the silky yellow fields, to the gigantic butter-colored school. I would grieve this day, or celebrate it, by chasing that yellow bus with my camera in ready position. I'd balance that camera on top of the steering wheel, stick it out the side window, photograph those few miles for the record book, for the scrapbook. This was a momentous day. My daughter would begin her journey of independence at age 6. Just 1,990 days before, she and I traveled a different path, from the hospital postpartum ward to her cradle in our first apartment. Just 1,990 days before, she directly fed from me, she bathed because Daddy brought her to the foldable tub on the dresser, and she slept because I held her in my arms. Her days of dependence were coming to a close, so kindergarten told me. When I'd pulled that minivan into the school parking lot, I slowly crept by the bus to capture her very first descent off those 3 black steps. Yes, I really did. Click, click, click. Good job, Hannah, I yelled. I'm not sure what I thought she did well. It was me that should have been congratulated because I had managed to stay on the road with 2 squirming toddlers while I perilously photographed that bus while I drove. Yes, I did. Fast forward 6 years, my youngest is getting his hair cut, my 4th child. The stylist asks how I want his hair prepared for his first day of kindergarten. Kindergarten, but he's 4. The cutoff date is January, she tells me. The parent can decide whether he goes to kindergarten now. It's my choice. Somehow the kindergarten years slipped from my awareness. Not that I would ever have considered kindergarten at 4 myself, but I hadn't been thinking about my son going to any school because he was the youngest of my 4. I wasn't thinking in grades at all anymore. Rather, I'm pursuing an education for each of my kids based on their interests first, and also incorporating things that I think are important too. Kindergarten, days of play centers, introductions to lineups and bagged lunches, sounding out letters, counting manipulatives, reading stories at the foot of a teacher, resting on blankies at quiet time, swinging on playground equipment at recess, and all those fun things. But I decided to skip the mile drive camera in hand this time. I would simply photograph him from the front porch. Those first 1,990 days slips silkily through my fingers like one long night. I'll try to keep closer to my youngest son's next 1,990 days and keep him home to learn and play. Now, what would I do with him at home, you ask? What would I do with a kindergarten child if I should have one now? May I not? Please, may I not? But pretty simple. You can find the answer to that on yesterday's reel or this last week's Instagram live. There's a few things that I would share with you. I have 21 things that I would do with my kindergartner that I share there. But if you are a new homeschooler, you're new to the homeschool world, I have a new homeschooler tips PDF free for you. 19 tips for the new homeschooler that you can access in the link in my bio or on my website, www.capturingthecharmedlife.com. I hope you and your kids have a charmed weekend. We'll talk soon.